Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Brian Kelly, the LSU Tigers continue to fill it up in the 2025 class, landing another commitment on the defensive line and four-star defensive lineman Zion Williams from the state of Texas. And at 6'4", 295 pounds, these are the kind of bodies that LSU fans have been banging the table for in terms of getting at the high school level. We kind of all saw how difficult it was to address the inside of the defensive line in the transfer portal. I think Brian Kelly certainly knows that and said, hey, the best way to avoid kind of leaving yourself in a pinch in terms of having to use the transfer portal is making sure you're getting these kind of bodies out of the high school level. And I think Zion Williams is that kind of body you are looking for, really imposing defensive lineman that I think can do the dirty work. I think that's why you go bring him into this program, a guy that, might not necessarily stuff the stat sheet, but going to play with some low pads. He's going to eat up double teams. He's going to let linebackers behind him play downhill and free. But a guy that does give you some athletic juice, some pass rush juice on some of those third downs. You see a solid athlete that can create some penetration and create some disruption in the backfield as well. A guy that you can play at the zero, you can play at the three tech, but I think most importantly, you just want these kind of bodies coming into your program at the high school level. Before we get into the film, just want to say thank you to you guys, and it's been a blast covering the recruiting trail over the last couple of weeks. The amount of support you guys continue to show, it truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Zion Williams. I think before we get into Zion Williams, I think it is very much worth noting that LSU in this 2025 cycle doing a phenomenal job along the line of scrimmage, both on the offensive line and defensive line. And I think that kind of stands out. I think this 2025 class, you kind of get the headliners and quarterback Bryce Underwood, right? The number one player in the country, 5-star running back Harlan Berry. And what I think flies under the radar is not only the quality of talent, but the depth of talent that you're bringing in on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Brian Kelly, after his first couple of years in the SEC, he knows. Like, you talk about winning games at the SEC, you need to have good line of scrimmage play. You look at LSU specifically on the offensive line heading into 2024, I don't think there's a better offensive line in the country. Heading into the 2024 year, Brian Kelly knows that if you want to win at the highest level, especially in the SEC, you need line of scrimmage play, and they are really making it happen in this 2025 class. And you get into the film of Zion Williams. And again, I think, one, you like the versatility on the inside of the defensive line right here, playing right head up on the center. You see some juice from an athletic standpoint. This is a guy that can create some penetration, close the gap between himself and the ball carrier, but has a lot of experience playing that nose tackle position where you just kind of see the power in the hands. You see the ability to get off blocks. And I mean, he's got heavy hands. He's got long arms, knows how to play with good pads. And then, hey, we're going to disengage. We're going to get off blocks, use our hands. That's something that kind of separates a lot of defensive linemen at the high school level. You get a lot of really good defensive linemen that are just big, strong, and athletic. What I think separates a lot of defensive linemen is how well you can use your hands. And I think Zion Williams, he can use his hands at a high level to get off blocks. You continue to work through the film and say, again, really kind of a violent first step there for someone that's 300 pounds. We're using hands again, getting some penetration, being disruptive in the backfield. He plays in that 3-3-5 look. So he has, talking about a really, really good get off for 300 pounds. And we're just snapping this center down. And again, we got a little bit of a motor to us. We got big paws. We got long arms, getting our hands up. The power in this kid's hands is big time. I mean, you continue to see how he gets off the football, how he's able to bench the offensive lineman kind of off his frame. There's a lot to like with Zion Williams. I think you like the athlete. You obviously like the frame, but I think you like the power in the hands. I mean, this guy has some devastating hands, and he knows how to use those hands. Again, you want these kind of bodies, a guy that truly can play that nose, but I think is athletic enough to play the three tech. You take a look at LSU in 2025, and again, I think the biggest takeaway is, Bryce Underwood, Harlan Berry, we feel really, really good about that. But you start scrolling down, Jesse Harold, one of the more traitsy edge rushers that we see in 2025. Devin Harper, I think a guy that could play guard or tackle for LSU at the next level. You continue to scroll down, Carius Kern, one of my favorite pure football players. in the 2025 class, a guy that could legitimately play offensive line. He could play defensive line. He's one of the more special athletes in this 2025 cycle. You continue to scroll down. Tyler Miller, we feel really good about that. You look at LSU in 2025, and it's only 12 commitments in the fold, but it's a top 10 class in the country. It's obviously headlined by number one player in the country, Bryce Underwood. I think for LSU fans, we're kind of looking forward to tomorrow as well. Damian Shanklin, a guy for really another traitsy edge rusher from Indiana, one of the top edge rushers in the country. Again, trending to LSU. We'll break down the film if and when he does commit to LSU. Again, I think a lot of people are going to talk about Bryce Underwood, and a lot of people are going to talk about Harlem Berry. I look at this LSU class and say my favorite aspect of this class is what they're doing along the lines of scrimmage. We'll close it there. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.